These things don't sell themselves, and it's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to that State of the Union address. I will say that there have been so many accomplishments under this administration, it can be difficult to list them in a distilled way.
What a joke. Well, my first guest tonight says she's boycotting President Biden's State of the Union address tomorrow. Republican Illinois Congresswoman Mary Miller joins me now to explain why. Congresswoman, welcome to the program. Appreciate you joining us tonight. You noted in an interview with Breitbart the president's record of lying, and that was, part of your decision to boycott. What was it specifically that made you say, enough is enough, I'm not going to this?
Well, it's not specific. It's been ongoing. President Biden has done great damage to our country, and sadly, the impact will be felt for generations. When Nancy Pelosi was Speaker during after Trump's State of the Union address that was celebrating great victories for our country, American energy independence, a secure border, support for our military, she ripped his speech up. Tomorrow, we're going to hear nothing but more lies from President Biden, and I just can't sit there and listen to them and then watch the media and Congress applaud those lies.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of Americans at home feel the same way, that they don't want to watch this. They've heard a lot of it from the White House briefing room, from Karine Jean-Pierre, a lot of the lies telling us the border's secure, inflation's temporary. On a rare occasion that Biden sits down for an interview, it's the same sort of lies coming from this administration. Have you spoken to any of your colleagues about this? Are any of them saying, you know what, we're going to join you, we're sitting this out? And what's been their response to your decision? Well,
actually, I belong to the Freedom Caucus, and we just had a meeting together, and I was getting support from them. They agreed with me. Everybody has, a different strategy of how they're going to deal with it and who they're choosing as, to come as their guest. I am going to share my guest pass with a retired colonel from my district, an Air Force colonel, who resigned over the vaccine mandate. That was another lie that President Biden said, was that he wasn't going to impose vaccine mandates. Then he went and imposed it on 64 million Americans. Thank goodness our Supreme Court stepped in. But, he did great damage to our military. And it was a political purge. And our military is in trouble. And then the stunt this past weekend, when he didn't deal with the Chinese spy balloon and let it traverse our country. It was a major national security issue. He lied about it. He's continuing to lie about it, claiming that President Trump had balloons just like that, which has been disputed by many people. So, it's just a continuation of the lies.
Well, first of all, I'll applaud you for the guests that you've invited to the State of the Union. God bless our veterans, those who serve, and certainly those that have dealt with this vaccine mandate, where we've seen so many have to step out of the military or lose their jobs, depending on what line of work they're in. But talking about that balloon that captured our attention over the past several days, what do you make of the delayed reaction that we saw as this balloon was floating over the United States? It was first spotted up in Alaska, which would have been a great place to shoot it down. But it made its way across our United States, over our military bases, and then finally on Sunday they take action?
Yeah. Well, we're in trouble as a country. We had peace through strength under President Trump, and Joe Biden has just shown such weakness. I believe the Chinese are mocking us. I mean, look at our military is focusing on this woke agenda and pronouns and all this stuff while our recruitment levels are at all-time lows. And Joe Biden is a compromised president. And we know that he is compromised with the Chinese and probably the Ukrainians. And, it's a national security threat to our country.
Yeah, it's very concerning, and it's going to be interesting to see how he even addresses this tomorrow. But before we let you go, Congresswoman, I know by now you've heard about what's happening with Newsmax and AT&T and DirecTV's efforts to silence Newsmax. They've officially deplatformed us after refusing to pay a fee, even though they paid 22 other liberal news channels, most of whom get much lower ratings than we do. We had Dr. Ben Carson on the program this past Friday. I want you to listen to what he had to say, and I'll get your reaction after. after.
Okay.
This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. We are talking about freedom in our country. The very First Amendment to our Constitution talks about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and it's being suppressed.
I mean, Dr. Carson makes such a great point. This should not be a Republican or Democrat issue. This should be something that every American, regardless of your political affiliation, is concerned about. What do you make of this DirecTV's blatant censorship that we're seeing right now against Newsmax and against conservative voices?
Well, of course, I support free speech. And I think that one of the dangers of having monopolies take over things like our media and other areas is that we really aren't free. And I'm looking forward to the hearings that we're going to be having. And, you know, it's foundational to our country to have free speech, freedom of conscience, all the 5 freedoms that we get in the First Amendment, which is absolutely under attack.
Congressman, before I let you go, when are those hearings going to take place?
Well, I know Jim Jordan and different ones are, you know, they're getting their, their plans together. And I would just saw them up at the Freedom Caucus meeting. And I think we've got great people on committees with James Comer on oversight. And they're going to be very aggressive in these hearings because they want the truth.
Well, we appreciate that, and we have to all stand together in this fight. Republican Congresswoman Mary Miller from the great state of Illinois, thank you so much for taking time to be with us tonight.
Thank you.